Now joined by Eric Mangini. Coach, you've never, I'm sure, had to raise your voice ever to anyone under any circumstance, so this
Never.
might be a foreign topic to you, ever. What was your reaction to what Bruce Arians had to say?
Well, being a player's coach like I was, I could, you know, it's hard to relate to disciplinarians. But this is one of the difficult things. When you are a disciplinarian and when you are extremely demanding, one of the things that you're not going to be is popular, and you're not going to win that award, but you probably will win the most likely to succeed award. And we see that over and over again, whether it's Belichick or Tom Coughlin or take your pick. And the issue that comes up is it frees players from being the bad guy. When you're the holding everybody accountable as a head coach, it allows players to not have to be the bad guy, to not have to try to pull other guys up, to not have to deal with the penalties. There's a place where that's going to be dealt with, and that's what Tom has experienced in New England. And now he's in a situation where there's, what are the highest penalized team? He's in a situation that he's never been in before, and it doesn't make sense to him, and he's trying to get it right. Now, the difficult thing is Tom's cachet, as much as he's Tom Brady, he hasn't won in Tampa Bay. And when you bring in free agents, you want them to have that pop, but they don't have that pop until they do it in that locker room with that team. So it's hard for him to have the impact that he wants on this group. And it's a difficult position for him to be in, to have to try to handle disciplinary matters.
And Coach, I got a quick question for you, and then I'll go on. If, for example, you are someone who is an absolute stickler for people being on time, what is it important that you are always?
On time.
Okay. So if you're Tom Brady and you are going to dog cuss guys when they make mistakes, it's probably important that the only two categories you don't lead the NFL in are pick sixes and forgetting the downs. He's 20th in completion percentage, 24th in yards per attempt, and 16th in passer rating.
That's ridiculous.
He's number one in those two, though. Oh, okay, Brandon.
It's ridiculous.
Why is that ridiculous?
He's earned it right. Because it's Tom Brady. And over the past 20 years in New England, we've heard all these stories of Tom sitting in the front row and Bill Belichick holding Tom Brady accountable. You don't see that in the NFL. You don't see a head coach hold their superstars accountable. And that's what usually breaks down this team. So when you talk about being held accountable, if you want to hold Tom Brady accountable, do it. Do it. But the reality is he has earned the right to hold his team accountable. And, Coach, you talked about, well, yeah, it should come from a coach. But there's nothing wrong with it coming from a player. And we've seen Tom Brady over the years on the sideline, Monday night football, Sunday night football, Thursday football, just a Sunday regular game, 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, walk up and down the sideline, chewing out Edelman, chewing out Gronk, chewing out Coach McDaniels, chewing out the coach that just got fired in Houston. So please, let's not be fickle here. Let's not do that, because we can't put him on a platform and say, yo, this is how leadership looks. And then on the other side, we knock him down.
Brandon, I agree with you in that, but one major thing has changed. He's not as good as he was, and he hasn't won with these guys.
He just threw 5 touchdowns. Nick, you just last week, you just came in here last week and said, "Oh, Tom Brady threw for 5 touchdowns. Everybody should be happy." And then all of a sudden, he has the whole debacle, the 4th down debacle, and now you want to crush him again.
It's not just that. No, that's not fair, and that's not right. It is. I was not the one throwing Tom Brady a parade for a great second half against the Chargers, which, by the way, I thought wins against the Chargers didn't count. But never mind. It has to. It has to matter. It is easier to hold guys accountable, whether you're the GOAT or not, if your standard is still that high. But if you are making some of these mistakes, if you are making some mental mistakes, I think it's harder to then hold guys accountable, especially when he's been to wars with Edelman, wars with Gronk, with McDaniels. To Coach's point, he hadn't done this with any of these guys, and he hasn't been great this year. So the idea that it's going to resonate the same, I think is... I just think it's crazy.
Well, here's the issue. Here's the issue. No, here's the issue. When we hear rumblings coming out of the locker room, then we're going to know it's a problem. We haven't heard Mike Evans. We haven't heard Fournette. We haven't heard Wirfs. We haven't heard JPP. We haven't heard any of these guys come out and say, "Man, we're tired of Tom Brady." Everybody is speaking glowingly about Tom Brady. Please, this is the same Tom Brady that won 6 Super Bowls, and don't change now. I don't care if you're in a new uniform. I don't care if you're in snow. I don't care if you're in sunny South Florida. Be who you are.
Look, one of the things about bringing Tom Brady. Go ahead.
No, Coach,
yeah.
I want to get your reaction to this graphic, because like Herm Edwards famously told me, like, you're either teaching or allowing it to happen. It seems like Bruce Arians allowing it to happen. So if Tom Brady's not yelling at people, somebody's got to. But the question I have for you is this: what does it actually do? Like, take me through it. Like, obviously everybody knows, like, hey, don't hold. Don't get penalties. Like, what? And Joe Judge is making people run laps. Like, how do you actually become a disciplinarian other than just yelling and making people run laps? Obviously, they don't want to hold. Well, so is this? What do you do now?
It's not just about running laps. It's about holding guys accountable in every aspect of what they do. And when you are a disciplinarian, look at Nick Saban. You can add him to the list. When you are a coach like that, the players are free to encourage each other. They're free. They almost bond in their reaction to you. And Buddy Ryan used to talk about that all the time, is they were going to initially start out hating him, and then when they let him in, they really had something. But guys didn't have to push each other. Guys didn't have to yell at each other for mistakes in New England, because that was going to be handled, which allowed them to develop relationships and which allowed them to push each other in different ways. And there is a freeing element to that when the head coach is the bad guy, when the head coach is taking that position. And now for Tom to after all the years of being in a place that he's used to having that organizational discipline, to be in this scenario, it's got to be a little bit mind-boggling to him, and it's difficult. And I've talked about this before too, Nick, is you got to be careful what you wish for. As much as you want to go and have a good time in Tampa and have fun, you get this other side that can be really hard to navigate through.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.